Hi everyone, I'm Allison. Thank you for joining me for Where I'm From 198 with Amber. What have you been reading? I read Tap Dancing on Everest, A Young Doctor's Unlikely Adventure by Mimi Zeman. Dr. Mimi Zeman, because she's a young doctor in the book. And I really enjoyed it. It's a very feminist book, and it's really where you want it to go and not necessarily doing what is expected of you. And Mimi has joined me here, so it was a special pleasure reading about her life. Hi, Amber.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for
Good.
having me today.
Of course. I'm so happy to have you. I feel like we're in some kind of parallel sphere. I don't know. Sphere might not be the right word, but like you're friends with Tony and
Yes,
others.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to grad school with Tony.
Oh, you went to grad school. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And Tony is just like quite possibly the nicest human being I know.
He
So,
is. He's so wonderful, and he's so relentlessly supportive of his friends.
yes,
It's absolutely amazing, and
it
it's so
is.
rare to meet writers like that. I
Yeah,
think it's getting better, but when
it
I was
is.
first coming up in the scene, it was very, everybody was trying to step on everybody else to get up.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess some of that's youth,
Probably, yeah.
like you think, I don't know. I didn't get an MFA in creative writing. It was in film and television, but I think there's a lot of overlap in sort of what
That
happens
makes
there.
sense. Yeah, that makes a
And
lot of sense.
I think we were definitely told like there's just only so much room. So
Exactly.
good luck,
Exactly. Exactly.
which is a terrible message. And I think back
Hmm.
on it, like they should have been encouraging us to collaborate and
Yeah, to work
like,
together.
yeah, yeah, which I think some of them did a little of that, but I think particularly as a woman, it was like, oh, already good luck.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
you
Exactly.
know,
And I remember coming up in the Portland poetry scene.
mm,
It was so male centric
mhm,
that there were only me and just like really a couple other girls, and
mm.
so we all had to figure out really quickly that we needed to have each other's back
Yeah,
because
which is what we
there
should
were
do.
so few of us, and there was kind of this mentality where it was like, oh, okay, like a couple of you are fine, as long as you're
Right.
hot and you read some sexy things.
Yes, for sure. I've shared before, but I one of the feedback I got on some early projects was like, I don't like what you're doing, but at least the chicks are hot,
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Sounds
and it
familiar.
was like, oh.
Or I don't understand it, but at least she's cute.
I know. I think it's probably, I hope that it's hard for younger people to really understand how pervasive that was and how
Yeah.
completely acceptable as
Oh
well. Like
yeah,
there
yeah.
was
No, it was
no,
it was very strange.
yeah, there was no like, that's not okay, man. It was like
Yeah.
what he said. Uh, so yes, I think some of it was the times and the age, and
Yeah.
then I think I matured and was like, I don't really want to, like the whole point of this brings me joy, and I don't want to make it this.
Yeah, it doesn't
It's
need to be
ick.
competitive. I
No,
mean,
and
there's always going to be some element of competition in any creative thing, I think, but it should be good competition. Like it should be
yeah.
like somebody makes something so good. You're like, "Ooh, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I want to figure out how to do that too."
Mm. Yeah, and I think you also, I mean, for me, it's like, some people are more successful than others, and there's no rhyme or reason. It just happens. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
pointless to
just
try
out of
to,
the blue.
it just happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't try to game it. Or
No.
I certainly I never was able to. So
Mm-mm.
speaking from experience, my experience. So anyway, yes, Tony, this is a love letter to you because it's like he's just such a solid person.
Yeah,
And
he's a real amazing stand-up human. Yay, Tony.
yeah, so it's a pleasure to meet you. And
Lovely to meet you.
I've read your poem and I loved it, and I'm excited to hear you read it whenever you would like.
Okay. Okay, so let's go first and let's you know, get we'll get that part out of the way.
Yes, for
We get
those of you who are
the
there for
scary part
that.
out of the way. Right. This is where I'm from. Where I'm from is someplace you don't know. In between the in between. Halfway through the too cool coolness of Seattle, not enough of Spokane, and nothing but the scablands in between. Coyotes that killed your cats and rigs that left you with a diesel hangover. Folks on both sides, both better and worse than you'd think they'd be, looking in on it from the outside. What worlds skipped over in a highway instant? What worlds lost? What worlds I longed for, students of shit poetry and scratched up records, disciple only to my friends. Together we frayed even the pear blossoms in the memory of those loved best. Turned ourselves out and out again until we came out clean. And still I hear your voices, all of you I lost in graveled canyons, those of you who spun out hard and never made it back. Where I am from, carved its initials into me with barbed wire, bucked me off just like our first mean chestnut horse. I tucked myself into a suitcase for the journey out. Like Orpheus, I know better than to look back, but still look back and back again, a criminal who's lonesome for the final crime scene kiss. Thank you.
Fun image. Yeah, I what a powerful poem about growing up in rural America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something I realized until let me see, I got into my MFA classes. But the typical growing up experience of a lot of people that do end up in MFA writing classes is something like, oh well, both my parents have PhDs, and so I grew up with a house full of books and reading all these cool authors, and so I always knew I was going to be a writer. And I was like, and I was kind of like one of the few kids being like, my mom is really good at riding a tractor and using an excavator. And that's something to be proud of too. But
Yeah.
it's definitely not the typical experience of a lot of people that I was in classes with.
And it's interesting how well, in film school it was I've been making films since I was whatever, 4, and
Hmm. Hmm.
I was not that way. And it's also obviously there's a lot of inherent privilege in being exposed to these things and being told this is something you
Yeah.
can do.
Oh yeah.
And not being told, well, it might not pay, or what are you talking about, or what's your
Yeah.
plan, or any of that.
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky in that when I was first starting my college career, I did concurrent enrollment classes, and I had a great professor who was not a good writer, but a very good teacher, and he told us all right off the bat, like, look, you're if you choose to do this with your life, don't expect to ever make money.
Yeah.
So I knew, like, from the time I was a teenager, like, hey, like, this is what I love, and so I'll work in food service so I can always have food, and other than that, like, I just expected to be like dirt poor, and always holding my shoes together with duct tape, and never going to a doctor, and living like that poetry
Sorry, that's
lifestyle
so
for my whole
frustrating
life,
that is our reality here. That
Yeah.
if you are poor, going to a doctor is optional. It's not something you can
Oh yeah,
afford.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
so
yeah. You
upsetting.
get good at patching yourself up with, like, super glue and
Yeah. Yeah.
Advil.
Yeah, and sort of, yeah, well, and is this an emergency, or can
Yeah.
this wait? Let's wait and
Yeah.
see.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. How
Hmm.
bad is it? Like, do I
Yeah.
actually think I might die? Like that at
Yeah.
that point, that was when I
Yeah.
would go to a doctor, but that was about it.
It's interesting because I did not, I mean, I grew up with plenty of money, but
Hmm.
my father grew up very poor. And so I still had a lot of that in me of like, well, and I was from a bigger family too. So there's only so much time and energy there is to do all of these things. And,
Yeah, yeah. So
um,
you kind of tend to figure out how much of your own pain you can dismiss
Yeah, and
or
like
put it
part of
away
it
for a
is
while.
good because you're not panicking about everything,
Yeah,
potentially. But it's taken me, a long time to realize like part of my health insurance that I pay for, I can call a doctor
yeah.
and I can talk to them.
It's
I
not
don't
the
need,
first thought you have, is it? Yeah.
no. Like, and I was in terrible. I had a pinched nerve last summer and I'm excruciating pain
Oh
like I've never
no.
been in my life. And I just kept, well, maybe tomorrow it'll be better.
Yeah, yeah. Like
It took me
just one
too
more day.
long to be like, oh, I can just call and ask for help.
Yeah.
I So it's interesting how we're trained or
Oh yeah.
to not do that for various reasons,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and And also for me, I don't know if this is true for you, but I didn't want to ask for help and be told
Oh
no.
yeah. Mm-mm.
So I just
No,
didn't ask.
I've never been good at it.
Right. And you have to kind of retrain your whole self
Yeah.
to to say, oh, I need help
Yeah.
and to ask the right people.
Yeah. And also to know that that's not a weakness.
Right. Right.
You know,
Like
because
that
like
they
if
mhm.
someone asks for our help, like
I
you're
know.
probably like, oh my
I
gosh, thank
know.
you so much for coming to me.
Yeah.
You're not just like, haha, weenie, like,
I know. Yes, and that I mean I was so proud like for too long. Like, oh, I'm
yeah,
good with pain. Like, what in the world?
yeah,
That's a
like what a
terrible
thing to be
thing.
proud of.
And I was, and I
Yeah,
was.
no,
So,
I get it. I totally get it.
yeah, no. So, anyway, I just thought it was a really like obviously it's a beautiful poem, you're a poet, but I just thought too, um one of my son's teachers is from Alabama and she was saying,
Hmm.
people like to say negative things about like the second they hear that she's from Alabama.
Oh yeah,
And I felt that in your poem with like people on both sides, like
oh
how
yeah, yeah.
quick
There's a
people
lot of
are.
assumptions. There's a lot of
Yes.
assumptions.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Uh, And who's that for? Like what are we afraid
yeah,
of
like
or
is
upset about?
who is it serving?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's all just serving people who want power. That the more we dislike each and distrust each other, the better it is for them.
yeah, yep.
I think
Yeah, I mean
that's my thesis.
yeah.
That's my hypothesis.
And I do feel like since the advent of everyone being so online all the time,
Mhm.
that the divisions have gotten much wider, and there's a
Mhm.
lot more distrust, and there's so much more distrust on both sides. Like I have friends that think that like anybody rural is just some scary like
Yeah.
um, like hick who's gonna like disappear you if you stop at the wrong gas station,
Mhm.
and then I also have like like a lot of like family members who are still rural who have like an
Mhm.
intense distrust of anybody living in cities, and thinking that like if you live in a city, like you're trying to turn all the kids gay, and um,
How do you
you're
do that? Just as I always have follow-up questions because if it were that easy to make children into anything, we would be doing it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's true. If you could make children into anything, we would all exactly have the perfectly behaved, wonderful children that
or
we want.
little
Like we would have no problems ever.
doppelgangers, right? Like, oh, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, it's interesting how it's this thing of that's part of the reason I think I started. It is, I know, part of the reason I started doing this because it was
Hmm.
during the pandemic, and I just wanted to connect
Oh,
with people
yeah, yeah,
and not with their avatars. And
yes.
it does make a difference, even this, like, which is not real life, but it is conversation and seeing a person's face and how
Hmm.
they respond, and it's just like not interacting with real people
Yeah.
is not great.
No.
I feel I can say that with confidence. It's
Yeah,
good to
no.
just get out there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was, let's see, so during the pandemic, I was a hairdresser at the time.
Oh yeah.
And I think one thing that really helped me, when we were all kind of like living in our little like enclaves online, and,
Mhm.
like everybody was blaming everybody else for, like, oh, like you're wearing masks, and like, that means you're bad, or like like you're not getting vaccinated, you're actively trying to kill people. We're all lobbying this stuff at each other. So here I am with this job in the middle of the
Mhm.
pandemic, and it's a
Mhm.
job where I was forced to, to touch people and to
Yes, for
care for
sure.
people in this
Yeah.
fundamental way, and to hear their stories.
Mhm.
And, like once you actually have to put your hands on people whose political opinions you do not agree with and hear their stories as to why they don't agree with you, or,
Mhm.
I mean, like I'm, for example, like I'm queer, and I would get, sometimes a lot of my clients would say something about, like how that was bad and whatnot, and it was a good opportunity for me to be like, well, here I am, and you know
Mhm.
me, and you like
Mhm.
me, and
Mhm.
you don't think that I'm bad, and we could
Mhm.
have like this conversation about that.
Mhm.
So like actually sitting down, hearing each other's stories, taking the time, and just like caring for each other in this way, and especially like you know when you're a hairdresser, like you hear so many stories, and and it's such a tactile job too, right? Because you're in
Mhm.
somebody's space, you're washing their
Mhm.
hair, you're doing all this stuff for them. So it kept it really kept my soul from sort of hardening up and from judging people too harshly during that time. So that was yeah, that was a really good experience. And then similarly, like, I'm so glad that you started this project during the pandemic so that we could like keep sharing our stories with each other, because
Yeah.
like
It felt important to me. And so I
yeah,
don't know, it
yeah.
just felt like, and it was also such a, I actually just talked to Georgella yesterday on Zoom for number 200. So it's already recorded, but I, I mean, it's brought so much into my life. And I think
Hmm.
it's sort of writ large, like as we reach out and try to connect, like, yes, of course, some people will say no and
Yeah,
like, no, thanks. I
yeah.
don't have time or it's not my thing but
Hmm.
lots of
Hmm.
people are um, joyful at being asked. And I
Yeah,
think
no, that's
that's
wonderful.
life, like you just kind of keep trying. So what was the experience of writing the poem like for you, Amber?
It was really interesting. I appreciated having a prompt, and I sort of, I tried to sort of like fill out the template as it was given, but I've always had a very hard time following rules and directions.
Yes.
So I
And
just
it's
I
not
just kind of
required.
used it as a jumping off point and was
Yes.
like, just sort of like ran away with it, doing my own
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, I think that's like, I mean, that's the fun of a prompt, truly,
Hmm.
is that it can get you going and then you can leave it
Yes.
behind if you're so inclined. There's
Yes,
no,
but one thing that I really did appreciate about the prompt was I really like the focus on picking out specific, like names and place names and imagery and all of these like very concrete things. So then from there on it kind of gave me like this great jumping off point to let all of these images just kind of flow into my mind.
yes,
And
yes,
yeah,
it's
so
really good for that. And it's such a great reminder that concrete sensory details matter, which
yes,
is a
yes,
hard thing
yeah,
when I mean, it's a hard thing all along, but I think particularly when I was a young writer, it was like, no, I want it to be universal. I want everyone to like get it and understand,
yeah.
and it's just like
But if the
mediocre.
image is good enough, they will get it. Like the no ideas put in things. Like William Carlos Williams. Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, the specificity, the
Yeah,
images. And
yeah,
and also I feel like it's one great thing about relying on concrete things and images too is that then the reader can find their own way in. Because you're not trying to force them to read it this certain way and be like, no, this actually means this to me. Like
yeah.
there's a lot of writers out there, I think, that like especially when you're really clonk your reader over the head with the point. And it's like,
Yes.
maybe let them just show them what you want to show them and let them
Mhm.
find their own way into it. Let them make it their own experience.
Yeah. And they can do that with things that they've never experienced. That's what I think is interesting.
Exactly.
Like, it
Yes.
doesn't have to
Yes.
be like, oh, because, sometimes it is for me like, oh, I did that. I liked that. When I listen to
Yeah.
poems, but there's also all the um, people I've known and loved and read. And like, when I first read your poem, I thought of all these people I knew from rural Washington.
Oh,
Like,
that's
that
wonderful.
was,
I,
oh,
I love I love
you
that
know.
that was like a visceral reaction for
It
you.
was. It really was. And it made me
Thank
think
you.
of driving from Seattle to Denver and driving through,
Uh-huh.
places that you don't stop. And if you do, it's just you don't remember the name of it. And
Oh
of
yeah.
course, people live there and live there for generations potentially.
Yeah.
It's, um, so yeah. Anyway, it's more than just us. Like I know we're the main character and all, but it enriches my life too feel the connectedness of all of us. And this project certainly does that for me on a weekly basis.
I think it's an incredible thing that you're doing, and
Thanks. It
I'm
was
so I'm
just
so
such
I'm
a
so grateful to be
whim.
invited to be part of it. This is
Oh, thank you.
amazing.
It was funny talking to Georgella yesterday because we've become friends and
Hmm.
she joined me a long time ago and read one of her poems and she was planning to read me a poem that she had written around the same time as the original.
Hmm.
And she had read it to me in another conversation, but then she couldn't find it yesterday.
Oh
Yeah, so she was like,
no.
"What about if I read the Joe Carson poem that inspired me to write my poem?"
Ooh.
Yeah, it was amazing. So she
Yeah.
read the Joe Carson poem, and then she read her original poem, and she said, "Oh, I wish I've thought about it, but I wish I'd said, inspired by Joe Carson." And then I talked to
Mm.
Joe about it and I said, "But how would you have ever known in a million years when you wrote this poem that it would have the life it's had?" And I feel like that with so many of the actions we take
Yeah.
every day. You don't know.
Yeah,
And
you never know, like
no.
especially when you share your story in any way,
Yeah.
you never know who it's going to
Yeah.
touch or whose life
Yes.
it's going to change, even in a small way.
Yes. And I think that is so important to remember. Like you, even if you're not getting whatever money, reviews, etc., like
Yeah.
it still also is just the act of telling your story is telling people it's possible to do
Yes.
that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So it's good. And well, anything else that you'd like to share about
Um,
anything? It's real open ended.
no, I think yeah, no, I can't really think of anything else at the top of
No
my head.
pressure.
So.
I'd like just riff, Amber. Just tell me some things. Um, well, you
Um,
have poetry collections. You have
I do.
books. You could take a minute and tell us about
Oh,
them.
okay, okay. So I have a book of poetry out with Free Lines Press, called Surfacing, which you can find a link to in my bio. You can also go to Free Lines Press. I believe they have an Instagram presence. I have another recent chapbook out, which is kind of flash memoir,
I love flash memoir.
through Bottle Cap Press.
Hmm.
And again, like there, you can find a link in my bio as well, and they are also on Instagram, I believe. So okay, so there's my plug.
Congratulations. You did a good job.
Thank you
It's
for reminding me to do
yeah,
that.
because it's a big it's a real process. First of all, writing things,
Yeah,
but then getting them out into the world in any form is
yeah.
also a big process.
Yes.
And congratulations, because you did all of those things. You wrote it and you got it out into the world.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you, Amber, for your time and your words. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thanks. I don't really know what to do with that. I just try to say thank you. Um, but yeah, have a lovely day. And it was
Okay.
so good to meet you.
It was so good to meet you too. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye.